Right. Good evening, everybody. I don't even know what to say about the lateness, but I appreciate your patience with me. Let's double check some settings. So we've got our quality options. I believe I have finally put to bed any of the technical glitches that were driving people, well, not driving me nuts. And I think one problem was it was translating into people basically coming into the stream commenting about it not working and then leaving, which is really killing my enthusiasm for the stream. And then I guess here we go. I've got a few days of different holidays and all of that getting in the way, but we are here for our first stream of 2023. Now I don't want to do too much housekeeping at the start because I want to get into Titan. Really looking forward to playing it. I am late in starting, but I am going to try and do the full sort of 30 minutes as I normally do. But I just want to give a little bit of an idea in terms of what the situation is for the broadcast. I've got a lot of stuff to get through. I wanted to start really strong, and I've been keeping on top of things as much as I can. But I'm noticing I'm starting to give up a few things. So I had a really great run of just reading some great stuff, and then it's been really, really busy the last couple of days, and so I've sort of dropped off the reading for a bit, which is fine because I know I can get back to it, and I pretty much did 3/4 of a book one day, so I'm just going to say that I saved that all up. But I have a sort of a job application that I need to finish off. I got a deadline for that. So I have a job application that I need to finish off quite quickly, and it's a very involved one. I have some YouTube projects, both that I really should have finished already, and they're in sort of various states of completion, but like I need to sort of put the pin in those. And there are things that I think you'll like, but they just need to get done. And I know the person waiting for them has been very patient with me. But it's just one of these cases where the volume of work and just all of the stuff just getting dumped on me the last sort of month has really put that behind. And then I'm not just continuing on with the regular material that I'm creating, but I also wanted to make sure that this month there's something I've been sitting on and wanting to do for quite some time. How you doing, Nexus General? I apologize that you've been getting shorted on Terra Invicta the last couple of weeks, but the way the holidays have landed, my Monday's been taken up. But we should be back to that next week, next Monday specifically. But yeah, so I don't see the regular streams getting in the way. Barely got back home today, so we're all good. Well, I hope you're well, because that sounds like you've been having a bit of a journey, like I have. But yeah, overall, I think it's fair to say that as far as the stream is concerned, one thing I really want to do is get back to starting at 7 sharp without any kind of interruption or any kind of exception. And one of the reasons why that has been getting knocked back is just the blizzard of stuff that I need to do off cast. And this is one reason why having to do all the technical stuff was so discouraging, because there's something about doing a stream but then having the in-between time be dedicated to stream stuff. And that makes you feel like you've been doing like streaming 7 days a week. Commander Root, thank you. Oh, nope, that is Nexus General gifting yet another sub to the chat. Thank you very much. I should let the art finish opening before I express all of that, but thank you very much for doing so. I've always wondered, I'm pretty sure I've seen Commander Root speak in the channel before, and I think I'd asked the question if that's at all related to Cryptonomicon. But I would be lying if I said I remembered what the answer to that was, or even if that was a proper memory. So we will save that for another time. But again, thank you very much for showing support to the channel. The extra subs in particular are always appreciated, but just hanging out is nice, because I know normally when I start quite late, the viewership sort of tanks. But the long story short, out of all this stuff is that my suspicion is I do not see interruptions to the regular streaming broadcast. I don't see interruptions in terms of the videos coming out, and I'm really determined to make sure that I deliver on these commitments that I have for people. However, what I think, if I at least go by history, I think probably what has happened, usually whenever I get this busy and try to sort of resolve everything, it does tend to sort of come out of the, how do I put it? It kind of comes out of the, like the time that I have between finishing work and starting the stream. And so it may be for the next little while, just while I try and sort of land a few of these different projects and then maybe get another set going. There may be a few later starts like this. And again, I apologize for that in advance. I do like to be consistent if I can. But you know, this does still remain a hobby. And there's a certain point where when you have to get stuff done, right? Like if I'm doing a job application, you know, you got to do the application. Like that's just, there's not really a way you can work around that. So without further ado, let's watch the opening cinematic to Industries of Titan. I will do my usual introduction for that, and we are going to enjoy some more campaign mode. I'm also going to, so I haven't eaten anything today, so I'm going to enjoy a little dinner while the cinematic goes on. Sorry, you'll probably have to hear some knives, forks scraping.
Titan. Everyone comes to Titan with a dream. Our moon is one of limitless wealth. There are ancient riches here for those with the strength to claim them. But some dreams start smaller. A better life, more dignity, more comfort. Today, Titan is a place where you can buy those dreams, where anyone can profit. But it isn't easy. You have to prove yourself here. Those who settle here take that risk. And without their diligent labor, our power grid would fail. Pollution would overwhelm us. And our trade would collapse. It's hard work, but on Titan, hard work isn't enough. The bold, the strong, those are the people Titan rewards. Those are the ones who see their dreams through. Exceptional people. Friends to the Council. That is why we're giving you this opportunity, Founder. We expect great things from you. Make sure you live up to our expectations.
Okay, I wound up, I guess, 3/4 of the way through my plate. It's a bit spicy. I'm just going to enjoy some tea. So, Industries of Titan. This is a great game. It's by Brace Yourself Games, who was actually streaming earlier today. They were doing Crypt of the Necrodancer with the new community manager, Demi. Now, I'm trying to remember exactly the title, so I think it's Demi is now the community manager and Maddie is now the communications director. And I have been watching this documentary to try and understand marketing so that I can sort of understand the distinction between the two. And it stars this guy, John Hamm. So my official nickname will be Mad Maddie, and you all get to to hear that first. Um, my apologies if anybody at Brace Yourself is watching. I think Demi actually got to see that workshop, so I guess that's not an original one. Um, but yes, so far as I can tell, marketing involves coming into the meeting with no preparation and just winging it, and everybody being blown away by your idea. So, nice work if you can get it. Anyways, on practical notes, actually, there's one reason why I wanted to mention the community management team. Number one, this game is really fun, but one major feature that I've enjoyed about it has been getting a chance to sort of see the community that's built around it and interacting with the people behind it. You may have noticed, whether it's the Brace Yourself Discord, whether it's the Brace Yourself Twitch channel, there's a lot of people who are involved in the games who are active inside there, and they are a lot of fun to interact with. And they're very, like, if you get a chance to talk to them about the things that they do, they're incredibly clever. So it's probably not a surprise if you happen to like these different games. You know, you just generally assume everybody's like 10 feet tall and you know, is of genius intellect. But this is one of these cases where actually, you know, everyone I've had the pleasure of interacting with on from Brace Yourself is an absolute gem of a human being. And then, of course, I'm going to assume that there's all the office rivalries and they secretly hate each other, and that I've just wound up alienating like half of the office that holds the grudge against the other half. But the reason I mention this is that what I had always assumed that Maddie was like kind of almost always with Brace Yourself, but it turns out that Industries of Titan and essentially that's the game that sort of marks our kind of beginning in terms of involvement. Now, obviously, for Maddie, this, you know, she works with them. For me, I just happen to stream their stuff, but I like pointing out that the opportunity to stream Industries of Titan and later Phantom Brigade came at a time when sort of the plug was sort of pulled on what felt like a very good and long-standing relationship with a publisher. But it's pretty clear that they decided to go in a different direction, but maybe did not really communicate that at all, or really do so other than basically saying they were going to do one thing and then never following up after a couple repeated emails. So that didn't really feel good. But, you know, so first of all, there's this company that's made this like really successful game, and oh, by the way, here's the, you know, early access key for the, you know, this next one. Oh, by the way, they're Canadian. Oh, by the way, they're all super nice. That was a truly wonderful journey to go down. And I highlight the community side of things because I really do not feel that these things happen by accident. I'm not going to try and suggest that Steam communities that have, I mean, like, Steam is not the nicest place for some of the forums, or even the reviews for that matter. It is certainly not true that every game is going to attract a, you know, a positive or enjoyable user base. And I mean, particularly for Industries of Titan, because it had a period of time when it was an Epic exclusive, there were a lot of people who reacted very negatively to that. And despite all of that, I think that, you know, Brace Yourself has done a really great job of making this a, you know, number one, a fun game, but just something that's very fun to be involved with. For me, I don't feel that same sort of fatigue that someone might over an early access game. So with all of that in mind, I want to communicate it for a couple of reasons. So number one, it's just kind of fun to imagine that, you know, this winds up sort of being this fun little origin story. It's the monolith of streaming or communications for the respective stories. It's worth kind of for me to talk about why I find this game interesting and worthwhile, and why I, you know, am so enthusiastic about this. But of course, it is also a way of identifying that I have been given a copy of the game for promotional purposes, and I like it very much. But as always, if you're making a buying decision, and actually, if I recall correctly, let me just take a quick second here. I need to verify something. So as it turns out, we're on the tail end of the Steam sale. And so if you want to pick this up for cheap or cheaper, it's 20% off. And then I believe on Epic, Epic has a coupon. So let me just see if there's the discount there. So the holiday coupon for Epic, it saved 25% off if you spend $14.99 or more. And where are you, Industries? So it is actually at full price on Epic, but you can technically get yourself. I mean, in this case, you can sort of say they're about equivalent, right? If you go for the 25% discount, you get an extra 5% on the Epic Store. If you decide to go on Steam, you're missing out on 5%, but I suspect probably 5% is not going to be the difference between someone buying on the buying on a platform that maybe isn't their primary choice. I will note I'm a little weirded out by the fact that the recent reviews are actually listed as mostly negative, although I think this might just be that there's like an influx of, like, it's based off of 12 reviews, and the recently posted ones I'm seeing are not, I don't know. Like the ones that are kind of going through, the ones that I'm seeing here are not really that informative. I mean, okay, so like, again, I've been given a key for the game. I really like the developer and the game, but I don't really feel like they're all that informative. Like, one is, I want my money back. Okay, fair enough. Doesn't say that they refunded, by the way. And the other one here says survival mode is too, I'm assuming, effing hard. The ships are ridiculous against the turrets. They need either to be cheaper or cheaper to make or do more damage. This is funny, right? Because in the earlier version of the game, turrets were incredibly powerful, and it was actually really not that fun to try and break apart a rebel base because the turrets were so strong. Hey, Frosty Mentos, how you doing? It says first time chat, but I actually think you've been here before. So apologies for that. Also, Algrins, hello. Irrepressible 32 Tal. Played 700 hours with like my money back. I mean, in fairness, some people, it does take a long time to figure out whether or not the game's for them, right? Like, I think everybody's allowed to give their opinions. But like, I do feel a bit bad about the survival mode one, because it's sort of like, just say you want the game to be more, like, to be easier. Like, don't play survival mode, maybe play the easier modes. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I should at least confront this, right? Like, if you take a look at the reviews, certainly there is a recent spate of negative reviews. And to be honest with you, I can't really articulate why. I don't think any of this stuff is very new. And clearly, the 1,116 in aggregate say that it's mostly positive. But I also need to appreciate that, people are going to feel nervous when they see that red text. And this is maybe a nice little time for me to say, if you would like to support Industries of Titan and you are enjoying it on Steam, now would not be a bad time to write a review. Yeah, like it could also be that maybe I've just seen you in another channel as well. I really should jump into the game, but I wanted to talk a bit about it. So yeah, for those of you who've been sort of sitting on the fence for the game, it is currently discounted on Steam. If you want to buy it on Epic, you can get that is technically the lowest price. But like I said, I don't think 5% is going to be enough to sort of compel people to go and buy it on a storefront other than what they want on their own. I think this is a very good game. And just because I went hunting for the discount, I was really surprised to see the mostly negative. I assumed that there might be a negative response because the game did change its roadmap. And it's one of the reasons why we have this campaign mode that we're going to be playing. But I do feel that is not really a fair. I feel like that's not a very fair assessment of the game. You're in the BYG streams often, and you chat around the IoT Discord, at least as active as I can. Cool. Yeah, I don't really contribute anything to the chat or the Discord. I'm present, but I'm not necessarily an asset, let's say. All right, Codex. Like all things on Titan, the amount of artificial sunlight on each part of the moon. The amount of artificial sunlight each part of the moon receives is not equal. Only the rich can afford to live in the brightest areas. Fragile bones are often reinforced with body mods in Titan's poor, hence the nickname Bowlegs for dark side dwellers. Now, I believe at one point the dark side dwellers may have actually been a faction, although factions are now effectively the starting perks that you get. And that gives me a chance to sort of talk a little bit about why I think, as disappointed as people may be in terms of some of the changes that are happening, you can actually see a lot of sense in terms of the way that they approached it. Because if you think of it, if you add a new faction, yes, that's a really interesting idea. There's some neat things that you can get out of that. But it does mean that you have to take the time to sort of build and develop all of that. Whereas if you make new starting bonuses, you get effectively the mechanical benefits of a new faction. But it might be something that takes a little bit less time to implement, and so you can do things like add the campaign mode, which was an early request for this game going in. And again, I know that again, the big thing here is that people are absolutely allowed to have their opinions, and they frankly do not need me to say that. If you don't like where a game has gone, that's kind of why early access exists. Obviously, there are more or less constructive ways to communicate that. But one of the things I really like is how, being involved in this game early on has actually allowed me to see a game like this go from saying, campaign mode is such an interesting idea, but there's really no way that we can deliver on that, to instead turning around and saying, oh, actually, campaign mode happens to solve a lot of things that we've been wanting to do, and we're not entirely sure if we can finish yet. And that's actually been something I've been really interested in terms of how the game is developed. So again, I do apologize. I realize I sound like the Brace Yourself propaganda network. But for me, it is one of the... Like I said, it's been fun to see the development of the game, but it's also a really big one for me to try and sort of get to see a little bit about why certain decisions are being made. And that's another thing that I've really enjoyed about the process. But anyways, I'm repeating myself now. Maybe it's the lack of food. But let's carry on. So we've pushed back the rebels. I believe I was going to dismantle this ship. Let's go for it. It served its purpose, and we want to have a better one anyway. I think I need to get the mineral mine up, upgrade the command center. I am worried about the fuel situation. Let's just unpause briefly to see. Okay, that's a real number. Was it because I was upgrading the fuel turbine? That can't be it, because it's running full blast. Oh, hang on. Right. Someone wasn't using it. Okay. So that means we turn the command center on and we start upgrading it. So this was... sorry, I just lost my chat. Campaign mode is a weird thing. Oh, sorry. Let me see. Are we able to purchase Ender Student Titan via Humble Bundle to support you while still getting the discount? That's a really good question, and I suspect not. But tell you what, let me just take a quick look on the Humble store. I'm never going to turn down money. I don't think Industries is on the Humble store yet, but... Coming soon. So regrettably, you will not be able to get the discount. I don't know what'll happen on release, but frankly, if you want to support the developers, that is a big thing for me. Whether or not I see any money from that is definitely a secondary. Recent negatives could be part of the game's development still haven't finished by last year's December's. Others may be the lack of content in terms of goals. Yeah, I mean, I looked at the reviews just like in terms of what they were, and they were complaining about like the difficulty of survival mode. So I don't know about that. I do actually like the campaign mode. I do think it kind of motivates some of my decisions a little bit more. But I also quite like Off-World Trading Company, and it reminds me a little bit of that. So I could sort of be already predisposed towards that sort of thing. It's very different, I'll confess. But I like campaign mode is kind of my preferred way to play right now. I may wind up changing that opinion over time. Like it may be that I kind of grow out of it. But it's to me, it's definitely been one that I've found pretty rewarding. I suppose the big thing is that the question may be whether or not sorry, still clearing my throat. By the way, thank you for asking that question, Nexus General. It's something I probably should be a little more prepared for when questions come in. Like, I really like how you can make decisions in terms of what parts of the game become easier for you. So, like, this idea of being able to lower the cost of being able to get ruins, for instance. I think that's kind of a neat idea because that gives me a little bit more customization in terms of the things I like about the game and, like, the things that I'm going to do. So for that reason, I'm quite attracted to it. I think I'm going to upgrade this energy pylon while I can, just so I can get the maximum range on it. But on the other hand, like if you sort of approach a city builder, like if it's kind of like a Sim City, right, where you sort of sit down and you like thinking of the city as these discrete units, then probably campaign mode didn't necessarily add as much as people maybe might have expected. And it's really hard to figure out like what I don't want to say the best way, but like it's kind of hard to figure out what one to recommend as a default. Like I tend to like progression over time, and I actually think the feature of being able to sort of choose, like if there's something you don't like doing, obviously the ability to say, okay, I'm going to put less effort into that thing I don't like doing is a pretty strong, that's a pretty strong advantage to campaign mode in my opinion. But the thing about it is that that also kind of implies that you're willing to put that extra time in with that version of the game. And that's probably not a good assumption. I've got a lot of isotopes right now, so I'm going to take a second here and just sort of upgrade everything. This is going to have some consequences as far as energy is concerned, but I think now is the time for me to sort of strike with that. And then minerals, I definitely want a lot of those tier 3s to go into the new ship. I feel like I should be building other things as well. So top tier power plant's going to require 48 fuel, which I have. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is there'll be a new generator that I put down here. This feels a little risky to do, but we're going to set up the mine. At the very least, like the first part of the mine. So the wind's going to the right. I think probably it makes sense to build the mine here. Except that I don't have the command center. Alright. That worked a lot better in my head. Very short of a mode. Interesting. Like, is it because you're just sort of like dominating the AI so well, or because like obviously I tend to play on the slower speed, so I never quite had that problem. But it's kind of interesting to get an insight in terms of what other people are experiencing with the game. Man, something's going weird with my chat. I mean, I'm happy that the frame rate is stable now, but I'm noticing chat's going a little weird. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a brace yourself thing or like it's hard to kind of figure out exactly the origin, but you know, I have to think to a certain extent. Ryan Clark, the founder of Brace Yourself, probably gets some credit for a talent for, well, basically an eye for spotting talent. Like, you know, it's like I said, it's nice to kind of assume that everyone at Brace Yourself is like 10 feet tall and geniuses, but I have to suspect to a certain extent one of the really big edges that Brace Yourself has are the people that it attracts into, you know, into its teams. And I mean, Danny Baranowski is obviously a very talented composer, you know, full stop. But on top of that, I sort of feel like if you think of like the visual style for this game, you know, the fact that Sir Karma had not made a game before this, that sort of their demo reel, quote unquote, for Industries of Titan was effectively those really popular tweets that they put out. And, you know, again, like I said, the fact that, you know, being part of the community for this game and being able to follow the development has meant, you know, an opportunity to sort of interact with a bunch of interesting people and, you know, to see it just generally be such a positive group. Again, I don't think that sort of stuff happens by coincidence. And so to a certain extent, I have to assume that part of the edge that Brace Yourself has is their ability to identify and sort of nurture talent. So you're absolutely right. Like it's a great soundtrack for sure. And I suspect that when you take a look at a lot of the stuff inside of the, well, I mean, any Brace Yourself game, because they all kind of work on the different ones. I don't know how many of you have seen me play Phantom Brigade, but that is one I also really enjoy. You know, just being able to see all of the little details and sort of know, yeah, of course, you know, of course they love what they do. Like, you know, how could somebody who was just doing it for, you know, for a paycheck produce such a, you know, such an impressive animation or such a great song? But yeah, Industries of Titan has got such a good soundtrack. That's on discount too, by the way. So for those of you who are on the fence of the game and want to, so we don't have that much in terms of credits. We might as well just buy another truck. For those of you who are on the fence of the game, you can buy the soundtrack separately. Sorry, I realize this is sounding like the Brace Yourself propaganda network, but I like what I like. Because I'm a little bit worried about the rebel threat level. I'm also worried about the fact that they haven't dismantled the ship yet, but we'll give them time. One thing that I do want to prioritize reasonably soon are the better living conditions. Obviously, we've done what we can with the factory, but we're not gonna see an end to the deaths until we build sort of a dedicated residential area. The good news is that for the most part, I mean, yeah, the energy plant and all of that stuff is, you know, it's inconvenient. It's gonna bring down the values if we take a look at what was it? I guess it's population and work information. So, you know, this is looking pretty grim in this state right now. But I'm sort of thinking that we start building some residential and office buildings here. We put down a hospital and a park, and, you know, we kind of hope for the best. Oh, so there were a couple of messages here that I seemed to miss. Where were we? I for 212 hours in the game, and I barely ever lost the game so far. Well, the game has a lot of systems, lacks policy or otherwise. Character interactions, I think, are the next to be available, and hope they could be part of either the detriment or possibly make you lose or win the game sooner. Yeah, no, that's no problem. I speak in paragraphs too, so. How you doing, Immortal Melody? Yeah, you almost always play on fast because there's 99% nothing to do while you're refining and waiting for certain plots to be claimed. Eventually, you can build a ship or two and destroy a lot of rebel HQs and rival buildings to mess them up hard. It doesn't impose too much of a threat, and the rebel waves are really weak. They scale for how many waves pass, and by wave 10, you're nearly done with the game. And the fact that gold wins are way too close when there's a whole tile line behind them. Yeah. I don't disagree with some of that. I mean, like, one interesting spot I found myself in right now, as you can see, is the rebel threat's really growing. And I'm running into some of my constraints. So, like, one thing I was banking on was being able to, being able to undo this, or being able to, like, have replacement ships ready to go a lot faster. And that's clearly not happening. I also am low on power. I don't necessarily have an easy answer for that either. So right now, actually, one thing I can do is turn off the mine. That's going to solve the temporary issue. Now, did I just allocate my people wrong? I don't think I did. Well, there's 7 unassigned. That's not as many as you'd think. One of the things I've always tried to do is to see how I can minimize the time that I wind up waiting for certain refining actions in that. I always kind of, for me, that sometimes that's a question in terms of, like, did I do something with my workers that's causing me to wait a lot? Because especially earlier on in the game, I would tend to mistake bugs for employees as, so I would tend to mistake not having enough employees as there being something bugged with the way that the employees were working. I'm definitely not saying that's what happened in your case, but it's put me in a mind where I'm sort of like, is there something that I can do to try and get past this this wait? But, like, again, the other thing that's kind of nice is because I play this game as a broadcaster, I don't always, like, it's not always a drawback to have a chance to sort of stop and smell the roses. So there is also a little bit of a difficulty in the sense that I'm quite comfortable playing the game on normal. And part of that's going to be an idiosyncratic reason for, my individual broadcast, which is obviously not going to be something that is true for everyone that plays the game. With that in mind, it's hard for me to say, like, I'm obviously going to still recommend the game, and I'm going to say, I don't, mind playing it on a slower pace. But I think the reasons that allow me to play the game on a slower pace are going to be unique. So it's, it's always a tough one. And I mean, again, this is why I usually, whenever I look at reviews like the one that I was talking about, it's not, how dare they betray this great game that I love so much? Clearly they're just troublemakers. It's important. Like, games aren't going to get better if people act the way that I do with the things that I like. It's kind of the old, was it Bernard Shaw quote? All progress relies on the unreasonable man. But yeah, for my part, some of the things that I think are pain points for people are not necessarily ones for me. And that, whether it's just because I'm boring or because the game has a style that I think works well for streaming, I suppose there can be any number of reasons for that, but it's one that I always kind of need to be careful of whenever I talk about the individual experience and how much I like the game. Okay, so longish / medium term goals. Let's start by seeing if we can get a better ship. I think, what's it going to cost me for a Cathartes? So we're really not making that much money per turn. So I think it's probably too much to assume, especially if I'm going to be building... Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with a Harpagus. A lot of this is really just going to depend on the Rebel waves. Like, at this point, I'm sort of stalling out all of my production. But we'll be fine. Like, there's stuff that I can get the money back for. The kind of overall goals for the next little while, I need to get 2,000 in terms of funds for residential and office buildings. This is so I can dismantle the remaining factories and sort of turn them into energy plants. And you know, then I also want to be making more money with my my office and whatnot park.
Hey, Founder. Been feeling a little tired up here. I love the job, but it's kind of a grind. Had a fight with my dad today. He doesn't think I should be heading down to Titan anytime soon. My great-grandparents fled Titan, you know. How much fleeter history have you heard? 90 years ago, a lot of the pilots on Titan went on strike. They made a play for the government, too. But the Council struck back and beat them. So the pilots took their ships and escaped into orbit. And they became the fleet. We've been living up here for almost 100 years. My grandpa's ship is a school now. We have history here. So I kind of agree with my dad. Titan is messed up, but I still want to visit someday, you know, temporarily. Maybe we could hang out, take a walk. You could show me some of the mod shops in your city. If things go my way, it won't be long now. Have a good one, Founder.
I haven't heard that one before. I didn't know that background with the fleet. You heard you can make a ton of credits and build ships the size of cities by getting rid of trash. I'll have to try that when the game gets a full release. Yeah, I tend to go for more employees, although the one drawback I'm finding is that it does constrain me credit-wise, which I'm noticing is the source of some of my my stumbles on this particular play, like not having ships ready to go on time and such. Survival mode is more with a lack of it all, not getting any bonuses and long-term trying to survive. The worst usually ends by day 24 because lack of resources and time. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I do on my own time when I play this game, and admittedly I haven't played the game as much on my free time. It's actually kind of funny. I looked at the Steam report for how much time I spent gaming and such, and you can actually see a downward trend in the second half of 2022. So I play Industries of Titan on Epic, so that's not contributing to that, but I do, when I play on my own time, I definitely tend to vary the speeds quite a bit more. Okay, so I was kind of waiting on the Obsidian Ruins here. It's a tough call if I want the 3 Isotopes 3 or the Artifacts. I'm going to go for the Isotopes, though. I think before I build anything else, I need to get the mineral production line going, especially because that's going to be a liability for our shipbuilding later. And if I can't get things, if I can't get better conditions as far as the citizens are concerned, I'm gonna run into some serious money trouble. I think what I'll probably do is stiff the workers on payday so that I can get my my residential and office buildings. And then I also want to try and get some more raw materials. Probably just keep this open at this point. I'm waiting on another 8 citizens if I can get it. The big limitation here is that there's so much waste, and this is part of the the starting bonus. You get influence for bringing in immigrants, but they come with a lot more waste. And so in this case, because I haven't upgraded the spaceport storage, I may have people who, under normal circumstances, I would be able to bring into the City Corp. But because they are, because they're bringing too much waste and I don't have the money to expand the spaceport storage, I have to turn it down. I've actually been trying to expand out. One of the big problems, so normally I wouldn't have a problem with this because having a fleet would allow me to defend it. But as you can see, that threat level is not getting any lower. We're already on wave 5, and one turret's really not going to cut it. The hope was definitely to be in a much better position as far as defenses are concerned. Realistically, what I'm going to do, and I probably, at this point, I think I should just invest on the Harpagus. I think I'm still going to do a double large laser build, although this is going to be... if the city design is causing you anxiety now, just wait till you see how this ship turns out. I'm trying to remember... I think if I build... No, we can't get away with one of these here. Okay, that's a start. Oh, that's right, but I said I wasn't going to build anything else until we got our mineral sorted. Fortunately, I can build the factory. Well, my favorite was, I believe it was Alexa was playing during the launch stream that they had. And I believe at some point, so this is, for those of you that didn't get a chance to watch, this was a really fun stream to watch, by the way. I think Brace Yourself do great, great streams. But I believe someone had named one of the crew members after me, and Alexa was the one to inherit the playthrough and registered that presence. Because I was very invested in the fate of that particular ship and crew. And the good news is that we survived. So that was my experience of Industries of Anxiety. But yeah, needless to say, oh, you know what? We're not going to be able to. We're not going to be able to fully realize. Okay, so it's a little wasteful to use tier 3. Well, you know what? I'll use tier 1s for now. That also makes me feel cranky, but at least we can get power to the systems. Actually, I don't even need to worry about the tier 3 stuff. I just need some tier 2s. Yeah, I'm also interested in what the post-release plans are. Like, this is one of the things that makes me a little bit worried about the people who are, you know, again, like, I do not mean to say that people should not voice their displeasure, because, again, we want the best game that we can get, and being able to say when things aren't working can be a way of seeing that, but... I think if there's too much of a tendency to sort of say, Like, if the negativity gets to a point where it actually affects the performance of the game's sales, which, I mean, let's face it, seeing mostly negative is going to make people think twice about buying it. It does make me a little bit worried in terms of whether or not that will affect the sort of post-release plans for the game. Because, like, obviously, if the game isn't kind of worth it to support in the long run, we'll get a full game. But I suspect that probably you wouldn't see the same sort of attention that, say, Crypt of the Necrodancer has been getting, because obviously there is an appetite for Crypt of the Necrodancer in a way that I think it's kind of an open question about Industries of Titan. So. Okay, so we're going to try and get some tier 2 minerals before we go too much further down the road. Well, I mean, the other thing too, right? Like, at a certain point, when Dwarf Fortress is announcing that they're going to be releasing at the start of December, it's probably not anybody's idea of a good time to release, a sim at that point. Like, everybody's going to be wanting to play Dwarf Fortress. Aw, man. I guess I'm going to have to do 2 small generators. Mr. Wynn, I like your games, but you're a cruel person. Okay. I hate entombing stuff like this, but... Actually, I guess I only need a small generator on it. Okay, let's work out what we need. So, 6... technically we can get by with 1, so 7, 8, yeah, 9 makes sense. Okay, medium generator. Little guy. No! Okay, there we go. I guess I'm gonna have to put down another... So I can put down a little relay... Well, no, you know what? We'll put down a large. Yikes. This is definitely a temporary setup. Okay, I'm going to put 1 extra engine down just in case things go pear-shaped. I don't think I'm going to have any tier 2 minerals to work with. Like, unless they get their act together here in the factory. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be really interested in Dwarf Fortress. I can see why people are into it. But yeah, it's just like whether or not people are individually interested in the game or not. I really don't see a situation where it's a good idea to sort of release out into such a competitive environment for it. It's not to say that like multiple sims can't exist beside each other, but in the end, if you're trying to get word out about your game, it's going to be really difficult when, the only thing that you're hearing is Dwarf Fortress. And, like, again, that is no disrespect to Dwarf Fortress. But, like, people who are trying to get the word out obviously need to consider what the environment is going to be, what that they move into. Yeah, I mean, I suspect the silence is as much of a function of just, like... So my guess is based on the reactions from how the game changed, there is probably a very justified feeling that they want to be very certain on things before. And again, I'm not saying this as anybody who knows, but, like, if I was in the situation that they were in, I'm just trying to think. I can probably scrap extra long pipes. Oop. Device construction's probably helpful. Actually, the employee limit's helpful too. We'll start there. I think based on some of the reactions that the game got, like in terms of the different announcements that they've made and so on, I would have to assume that there is probably some wish to be certain in terms of basically where everything stands, right? To, to sort of say, okay, here's what we want to do. We're probably going to do it at X time or Y time. But again, like, based on how people responded when there was one set of plans and then things didn't turn out, I certainly wouldn't blame someone from saying, it's like, let's just take a minute and make sure, we know this thing is happening for sure, or happening at this time for sure. I generally think that probably people as a whole benefit from, like, announcing things or giving good news or whatever. And I mean, certainly the game going into a 1.0 release would be beneficial for it, just simply because I know there's a bunch of people who sit on the fence until a game is fully released. So I suspect that probably the effort is to sort of take the signal that people have given, which is, consciously or unconsciously, don't tell us something until you're certain. For me, that's a shame, because I like to sort of have the inside track, and I actually really liked reading the article that explained why they were doing things the way that they did, because in the end, I'm just sort of interested in this stuff. But if the consequence of announcing something earlier on is that people will feel like, they've been deceived, or people are not being honest with them, or, whatever the case may be, I suspect that at a certain point they're going to want to maybe just be a little bit more tight-lipped than what most people expect. I'm clearly still eating up my tier 2. Yep, I can't believe I did that. Okay, well, clearly we're ready to we're ready to shut this down. So. And I feel like a little bit of a clown for not doing this earlier. Actually, there's a reason we have dismantled all devices. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I like the game the way that it is. I think, if you ask me as a player, what do I want of any game that I play? The answer is usually more. But, again, it's, I guess the difference too, this will be an interesting test. What people, so like going from early access to the finished, like to the 1.0 version of the game, I have a feeling that, to a certain extent, people who are getting into the game now, I cannot believe I didn't see this. I don't have any ability to access my lasers. I'm probably actually going to have to redesign a bunch of this, but... The good news is that the threat meter's back down. But yeah, I mean, I think right now people who are buying the game in early access are, to a certain extent, buying an expectation in terms of what it might become in the future, whereas a 1.0 version, there's sort of this idea that you're buying the experience as it currently is. And, you know, some people are going to like that, some people are not necessarily going to like that, just like any game. But I have a feeling that there's a really interesting case of Lucifer Within Us. Now, that game was very short. I think people were expecting something very different. And when it first came out, there were some pretty negative reviews about it. And there are two big things that that developer did to change it. They didn't change anything about the game. But what they did do was they got rid of the demo. And then they also added... I think they changed the ad copy a little bit to sort of communicate the length of the game. And what I found really interesting about that is that if you look at Lucifer Within Us, it's no longer like the scary orange text. It's probably like a, you know, I should actually check it out, but I've gone away from the game a few times tonight. And what's interesting about this is that, again, the game, I'm guessing, based off of like its review score, probably did not sell well enough to merit sort of a sequel or whatever. And it's a shame. Like, it's kind of, if you look at the reviews, it's almost like, you know, the old joke about a certain type of restaurant review, right? Like the food was awful and the portions were small. You know, there's a lot of comments along the lines of, you know, this is a really interesting setting and I hope they do a Lucifer Within Us too, but I didn't like the first game. And like, I totally get what they're trying to say, but like, obviously it's like, well, if you don't support the first game, you're not necessarily going to see a sequel, right? If you want to see more in this world, there has to be the signal that there is sufficient interest in this type of a project. So, you know, whether or not there's going to be a Lucifer Within Us 2 or anything like that, I have no idea. Based on the success of the original game, I would guess not. But, you know, I think Kid Fox Games is run by very smart people, and they're going to have an idea about where, you know, their time and money is best spent. But again, what's really interesting is that, you know, short of like sort of the usual quality of life support and that sort of stuff that you'll see for a, you know, a traditional game, nothing about Lucifer Within Us changed. It was just the removal of these factors that you would think were orthogonal to people's enjoyment of the underlying game. And yet clearly it wasn't. You know, the reviews for the game improved significantly once you moved past what the game might become, or what you wanted it to be, and instead reflected what it actually was. And I thought that was kind of unusual, but also very interesting. Oh, but no, see, I think it does, right? Because in the end, like, the game is going to come out one way or the other, right? And if the reactions that we're seeing in reviews right now are driven not necessarily by fundamental aspects of the game, but rather what the expectation of the game is, that's a selection problem for the player base, right? And again, I'm in that, and I think the game is quite good. So, you know, it works positive and negative. Instead, the discussion is going to be about what the game is. Now, that can be good and that can be bad, right? I don't actually have a strong prior in terms of what direction it goes. I'm inclined to think that it'll be positive because the bulk of the reviews for the game are positive. But, you know, again, we can't really know until we run the experiment. But I do think that right now, because so much of the discussion is either about the game we imagine it is or the game as it possibly could be, at some point the game needs to be allowed to sort of stand out on its own, and people will see it for what it is. Again, my hope obviously is that everybody discovers the genius of Industries of Titan, and we get to see sort of this 20-year roadmap. It becomes, there's a dedicated team, for, actually maybe there's like a break-off studio that now becomes exclusively for Industries of Titan, and it eventually becomes sort of like Sim Earth 2. Obviously that's the hyper positive version, which is not very realistic, but hey, you can dream, right? But yeah, I think to a certain extent, by necessity, the conversation is going to be I think by necessity, the discussion is going to be a lot more about what the game could be as opposed to what the game is. And I think, for better or worse, there's going to be an opportunity for people to, God, I have like no hope of getting this thing done properly. Okay. Take 2. Maybe 2 small fuel fabricators. So I obviously need to smarten up in terms of how I've been running things here. This is a little embarrassing. Free you up temporarily. So I do want to make sure that the ship is taken care of first, because if I don't have something to defend, I mean, we're gonna take our lumps. There's really no way of getting around that. But at the very least, having a ship to run interference is gonna help us. Also, I should probably be adjusting the priorities again. Okay, so they'll sort themselves out down there. You kind of saw me fix some of these different inert ruins. The main reason for that was just so I could dump some artifacts into things. Regrettably, I can't do that for employees. I'm already over. And my preference, if I'm completely honest, would be to try and get those residential and office buildings built. Whether or not I can pull that off in time is a whole other question. I think one thing I need to do, let's just prioritize everything on the ship at this point. We'll keep the medical pod. I may be able to make this work. Okay. Little guy goes here. Okay, that's a little bit of a maze, but it does the trick. Batteries are going to be a bit of a pain. Nope, that seals stuff off.
Founder, I've been thinking. The way we handle employees now, it seems cutting edge today, but in a couple years, it won't be. Employees work hard and they don't complain, but they're not so great at social tasks. Currently, corporations are rushing to fill that gap with AI, with machines. It's flashy, it's cool, but it's not the correct solution. No, I think the correct solution is still people power. Social tasks need social workers. Social workers who can work forever and never complain, but still humans. So, how do we combine the best of humanity with the best of employee technology? It's not about making AI better, it's about making humans more obedient. I think that's the next frontier in workforce technology. That's what we need to figure. How to keep that human ingenuity, that human sparkle, but none of that bad human attitude. Think about it, Founder. That's the kind of world we would thrive in. If we had those workers, we could do anything.
I have to assume that someone had a ton of fun writing Lyo's lines. Yeah, so I mean, Frosty Mentos, I think... Well, here's the thing, right? Like, if the game... So again, number one, I don't really think there's a question, because it's, in the end, going to be about mindset. Now, you know, people who get into the game in the early access may never get over it. Well, this is one thing I talk about a lot. In a case of a game like Sunless Sea went from a turn-based combat system to a real-time one. And I don't think anybody really talks about, you know, Sunless Sea's exceptional combat and, you know, how that's like a big selling feature of the game. But it is true that there was also a very large part of the community behind that game that did not like that change at all. And even though Sunless Sea is a well-regarded game, there's absolutely a group of people who will essentially only ever think of Sunless Sea as that game that screwed up the combat. And I don't really have any kind of a basis of complaint with them, because in the end they wanted one thing, and that will not be satisfied, because in the end the developers decided to go in a different direction. But I do think, like, the fact of the matter is that I don't think any game, no matter how long its development cycle, I really don't think people are always going to be treating it like it's a forever development game. I think people are essentially going to say, like, this is the thing that you're getting when you buy it. And, you know, again, whether that's a positive or that's a negative, you know, it remains to be seen. But I really don't think you're going to see people evaluating the game as something that can be grown or developed into something. Essentially, the evaluation of the game is going to be on the basis of whether or not the underlying product is worth it. You know, my opinion is that it is. Other people, you may feel differently. And of course, this is why we have this kind of variety, right? If you don't care that much for Dwarf Fortress, it's a lot of people who are really interested in Dwarf Fortress. So, you know, there's a few games which people kind of consider to be, you know, indisputable classics, which I actually do sort of feel, for me at least, I don't quite understand how they work or where the interest is for them. But obviously, I'd be wasting my time to try and tell people, you know, oh, you don't actually like this thing. And again, a little bit like Lucifer Within Us, eventually the discussion will shift from, you know, what the game could or could not be. And I mean, I also think this is true for a few other games. Like, I don't think Industries of Titan is the only game that has systems where you can feel that there was going to be an effort to sort of go one direction, and the and the result wound up being somewhere else. I think maybe, again, if you're earlier in on the game, you might see those seams a little bit more than others. But again, I think, like, actually, here's an example I can give you. XCOM, the Firaxis one. At the start of XCOM, Dr. Valen and Shen are inexplicably kind of catty with each other. And you don't actually see, like, one of Valen's first lines is, "Oh, I see Dr. Shen has managed to turn engineers have managed to learn how to turn their machines on." And it's sort of like, I wonder why she's being so mean to this, this nice engineer guy. And apparently, the reason for that is the characters as originally kind of conceived and written were husband and wife. So this was probably, banter between them, or, this would be, just the sort of thing that would sort of kind of go in, kind of no matter what. Like you just see that in the game over time. And I suspect probably the reason why that weirdly out of place set of dialogue is still in there is because in the end you sit down and you say, okay, look, is it really worth it to bring the voice actors in to like redo these lines? It's going to cost us some money and we might have to push the release date. Like, I don't think it's enough of a seam in XCOM to sort of say, yeah, stop the presses. We need to recall this game. But it's definitely a case where, like, once you know that, you notice it. And so the reason why I'm giving that specific example is that, some of this stuff is a little bit more apparent than others. And it may be, like, somebody may sit down with the Wind in Industries of Titan and say, it's like, look, it's an interesting game and all that, but I have no idea what the Wind's doing in here, right? It's blowing my pollution around, but it seems kind of constant, so I don't know if this is adding what it originally intended. But I mean, again, I don't really think anybody's going to sort of sit down and say, I wonder when they're going to implement X, Y, or Z. Well, this is, did you play the Alien Hunters DLC, Nexus? She's German, Immortal Velody. It's it's not the same thing. Yeah, it doubles the speed. So basically, the time it takes to process a level 1. I mean, again, this is assuming that I have like a fully running set of employees and all of that. But the idea is just to maximize the throughput.
To stop you from hurting our Titanians. If you stop converting, I'll stop fighting. You go first.
Okay, this is going to be...
Propaganda is so tiring, wouldn't you agree, Founder? Put a stop to it.
Oh, probably. I just like being silly about it. But yeah, Alien Hunters does seem to make some suggestions that Valen is not necessarily dead. I think it leaves enough. I think it leaves enough space open. Now, obviously, I've only got 2 guns to work with, so this is going to be a heroic effort. But we might be able to pull it off. So really, this is all about starving the Gatling guns. As long as we can do that, we have... see, we're just short. Let's see where it goes. I'm a little annoyed that this isn't fully charged. And I mean, she was down for the... she was down for the experiments on the aliens. It's one of her better features. I really like the puzzle of trying to work out the different ship layouts. Actually, it's definitely one of the. I mean, like, I'm bad at it, so to a certain extent, I am also cursing, Andy Wynn or whoever's responsible for some of these layouts. But it's a fun little challenge to deal with. I'm wondering if I should try and starve them on. Yeah, let's hit them on the life support as well. So we don't necessarily need to win the fight. We just need to be able to pull them away long enough to take them out with the turret. Okay, in the meantime, let's get some... I think device construction time's probably where I want to go on this. So I'm pretty sure they're just going to wind up in the defense turret. Okay, I obviously screwed up. How does this thing have power again? I guess it has to be through this? Oh, there. Okay. That's probably going to turn both on, actually. Yeesh. Well, this I actually have to take out no matter what. Okay, that's fine that they're attacking the factory. This thing's actually probably going to get undone fairly soon. Okay, what do I do about this? So that didn't stop the power. We did such a good job of taking it out before. I'm a little confused as to why it stopped. I know we're going to get hit again, but... we've got a fire to deal with, so I don't exactly want to be spending the money repairing the factory. But again, the more damage we can do to the Nomad Alliance, the better off we are in the long run. And I don't actually really need that. Well, you know what? We might be able to... Okay, we might actually be able to make this work for longer than it seems. It's a lot of citizens in there. Oh, that is cool. I did not know that they put fire on the inside. That is a nice touch. Okay, this is maybe not the best time to do this, but I'm gonna get more power down. The heroic effort on the part of the repair crew. Yeah, I don't see this thing surviving. I think, God, this is such a tough call. Because, like, we can't seem to get the Nomad Alliance off the factory. I always sort of thought that they would redirect their attention to whatever was attacking them. Yeah, this has maybe got one more volley in on it. Okay, so I'm not happy about this, but I'm going to try and pull the Nomad Alliance away from the factory so we can save it. Might be too late. No! 15 citizens gone. That's actually my entire. So we're not rebuilding this. Oh, actually, this might be going outside of my range. Nope. Okay. What am I dealing with here? Yeah, anyway, sorry, Nexus General. Alien Hunters is difficult. I didn't care for it a lot when I first played it, but it's grown on me. But yeah, it's mostly just there's a little bit more to what's happened to Valen than you might have guessed from the base game. We definitely need to prioritize repairing the advanced radar. It might be too late for it already. At this point, we need to send them on a merry chase. Fortunately, they are in range. So we wrap up on the Nomad Alliance, and then we return our attention to the Dog of Hope. If it does wind up becoming a race on the Dog of Hope, then I need to bring my now you are a priority. Good. Not so good. Takri, I have no idea why you're not getting credit for your work right now. I am sorry, but thank you very much. I'm not really losing. Like, we got a lot of fires going on. I am going to have to put the Savvy Fenrir on an almost certainly suicide mission because I really can't afford to lose my isotope mine. Yeah, the weird thing here is that it doesn't seem to be paying attention to the fact that it's under attack by the turret, and I was definitely counting on I think we've lost the mine. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull their attention fast enough. Oh, maybe. Yes! I cannot believe we got away with that. We may still lose... we may still lose the... lose it to fire. Are we in the middle of a heat wave? No, clear sky. We're also running out of money, so let's just ask for some subsidies. There we go. And they're fighting the fire here, so... At this point, we just repair all, but I think we're in a better space than we were before. You know, weirdly, this is kind of a fun way to play. I wouldn't like recommend it for everyone, but it is kind of fun to be flying by the seat of your pants this way. Clearly, though, we need to get our we need to build back better. Anyways, very good to see you, Tikri. I'm sorry for starting so late, but I am very happy that you were able to come here. I actually hope you're all having a good night tonight. So I haven't really learned my lesson from last time. I think in this case, though, I am going to just we'll spike the employees. That's 3 more people that can help with the repairs. We will dismantle all devices and then eventually, oops. Then we'll dismantle the ship. That may have been premature, actually. They're really hammering the defense turret. I mean, it looks like somebody's on repairs, but I'm not seeing the number go up. Oh, I think it just did, actually. There we go.
This loss is a lesson, and when I am victorious, I will remember it.
Okay, so priority goes to everything that's on fire. Okay, so apparently we are full on room for waste, which is a bit of a surprise. No, wait a minute, it's probably not a surprise, because did I turn the... Nope, I did not turn the smokestack back on, so that's 2 employees that are completely wasted right now. That'll probably solve itself, but I can help things out by putting a waste receptacle here. It'd be nice if I put it the right way around. I do want to get the tier 2 lines built as well, but I might as well finish the tier 3 side. Please tell me I didn't build the... Okay, 2, 2, 2, 3. Cool. Oh wow, I'm really short on tier 2s. Okay. Kind of burning the candle at both ends because I'm gonna be doing sort of the residential and office. In fact, maybe what I'll do is...
Hey, Founder. Sorry, feeling a little pissed off today. Forgive my, sharp edges. Just took a call from my daughter. Yeah, I got kids. I got 2 daughters back on Earth. I was a great dad. They don't see it that way, but I was a damn great dad. They never had to live in a pod. They had, like, pets. I bought them a tank lizard or something. But they were honestly glad when I moved off to Titan. We argue all the time now about the worst stuff. Listen, my older daughter's letting her teen kid get a brain chip to teach him to dance. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. No tech company's gonna hire someone with an entertainment chip in their head. One day he'll regret it. The human brain can only take so much modding before it falls apart like cheese with holes. Letting a teen install fun hardware in his brain is ridiculous. Anyway, my daughter and I start arguing about that. Oh, you never let me do what I wanted, blah, blah, blah. It gets nasty. Sorry, Founder. We'll have to talk some other time. I'm gonna go blow off some steam in the lab.
Ah, if only we could get a video of Vern blowing off steam in the lab. Yeah, God, I really like the dialogue dialogue bits. Okay. So again, we don't have any way of earning money right now, which is especially a problem given how the oh, apparently that's not true. So it says you've got 15 of 34 citizens. Oh, right, because of the residential. That's fine. Yeah. But yeah, I needed to get that office down, otherwise it was going to be a bad day. You're kidding me. Okay, we gotta wait on the two tier 5 minerals. Please, please turn off the fire. Okay, too late. Oh, good. They're working on it now. Okay, so as long as the storage facility fire is dealt with, we build the office. We can start getting an income again, and we're good. So again, not ideal, but manageable. One thing to keep in mind, right, is you take a look at the number of isotopes we're sitting on. It's because we've got this setup. That can happen with our minerals, which is going to be the way that we wind up, you know, kind of laughing our way to a giant fleet. We're still on 110 tier 1 minerals right now. And again, at some point we actually need to get these production lines up and running. But that's kind of what we're building towards here. The fact that garbage keeps spewing on the ground is not great. But okay, let's use these tier 2. I want to try and get another one of these tier 2s down before we run out. I can never remember how I want to do this. Yeah. So eventually that's going to let me... So the reason why I like this setup is that you've got your... And again, the assumption here is that I have enough workers to be able to just throw it straight from the level 1 processor to the mineral input module. That very rarely happens, but I like building towards that goal. And then you've got the 2 kickers here, which will give you the tier 2s, which is particularly helpful when it comes to minerals. It's premature for this sort of thing. In fact, what I might do at this point, I think I might take some bodies off the isotope line just because we've got so many of them. It'll be good for upgrading, but like we don't need that right now. I did the wrong thing. Actually turn these on. I'll just get rid of the workers. Okay. Office is almost done, which is good because we're just about to start the workday. This thing gives me 32, so I've got room for 34 citizens. Where on earth is this extra space for citizens coming from? Have I indirectly found a bug? Okay, let's do a quick... So factory 6. Where's factory 6? Oh, my bad. I totally forgot I had one of these. Alright, so this thing's obviously full. Yeah, so I guess we move on to the next residential. Okay, so we probably have enough to get the not fully, but it's a start. Let's scoop up the next tier 2 that comes. I can actually turn it off. Paying for stuff power-wise. I think I'm gonna, against my better judgment, I am gonna dismantle the Savvy Fenrir. Well, I guess we said we were already gonna do that. I clearly got this wrong, though. Yeah, I think I have to build it this way. I feel like there's something wrong going on here with the fact that there's 2 waste receptacles, but I'll be honest, I can't put my finger on it, so I'm not going to question it. And we've dealt with the tier 5, so we can turn on this mineral input module again now. Okay, while we're waiting, we've got more than enough to set up for more of our population. So we'll start with the residential. I'll probably build the office next. Oh, please do not use tier 1 isotopes. We will be here all day if we do that. Okay. Residential first. Then I think we're going to transition into the office. And that's just because it's the more expensive of the two, so I tend to like building the really costly, frustrating stuff earlier on. It's going to be a little hard to make this all sort of land at the same time, but that's a start. Now, the fuel turbine and the energy plant are going to be kind of they're going to be a liability. I'm going to solve that partly through a hospital and a park. I feel like there should have been a better way for me to handle that, actually. Anyways, we'll make it work, and then we'll probably put another batch just on the other side. Yeah, at this point, let's turn off the shipyard, just so I can conserve at least whatever is left of my power. At some point, we have to pay the Piper cash-wise, so I think we're actually going to ask for a big... well, as big as of a subsidy as I can request from the council. Maybe if I've got that much influence kicking around, then I'm reluctant to try and go for the ruins because they will they'll actually cause me problems. Thank you, Frosty Mentos, and I do hope you get some sleep. Look forward to seeing you again, and I hope you have a little more luck with your I don't know. I got the impression that you're feeling a bit low about Industries of Titan. So I hope your sessions start picking up for you. How many tier 1? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do something crazy. I'm gonna turn off the mine right now. I'm gonna claim a bunch of resource patches, but I'm gonna focus on the isotope patches first. Part of the idea here is to limit the rebel threat. We've got artifacts, so I should probably take a look and see what I can access on the tech web. Definitely need to change the repairs. Honestly, we might as well just go for all of it. It's got to take us somewhere new, but otherwise I think we're just going to run with it. We should see a big drop on the rebel threat level. So the drawback is that during this bit of downtime, what would be ideal would be to have a fairly large fleet to go out and start clearing out these rebel camps. That's obviously not happening. I'm a little surprised at this energy. Oh, it's because of the waste again. Okay, that is a problem. So what gives? Nobody's supplying the smokestack. Okay. Well, Immortal Velity, your time has come. We'll maybe put it below construct, but just below. And I think we're also going to free up the people who are moving resources right now. I mean, they're not going to do anything with the smokestack right now because it's being upgraded, but... in the meantime, I can try upgrading the storage facility. Why not? We can upgrade the mine. In fact, we can do that. This one's already tier 3. Hey, we're all repaired. Nice. So really I'm waiting on the 200 tier 3 minerals. At some point I also want to build a... probably a fuel turbine here. I guess I could build one here as well, but I think this works a little bit better. And I'm slightly inclined to start blowing up all of these rocks, because I know if I start claiming the ruins, that's gonna come back to hurt me. Just in terms of threat level. Like, at this point I need to start building the ship, but I can't build the ship until my, all my construction's dealt with. This is going to be one time I sort of speed things up. This could actually be the one that kills me. Unless I can get a better ship in the sky. I don't think we quite have the wherewithal to... make this happen. Small Gatling gun's interesting. I actually still don't know what the clip limit does. Okay, I am still inclined to focus on the residential and office buildings because that's going to give me the credits I need to fight back against the rebels. Who's going to be a challenge? Okay, so this thing had better start rocking the waste. Yeah, so we got somebody dedicated onto that. That's good. Okay, so this is where we should start to see some real progress happen. What on earth was I thinking when I did this? I mean, it works, but... okay, so if we dismantle that... My god. So it does show that I actually don't need the storage container there. I guess I put waste receptacle. No, hang on. I'm looking at the wrong side. Makes a lot more sense when you look at it this way. Yeah. So all that's staying the way that it's supposed to be. But the idea here is that we should now have sort of the full production lines running, and we should start seeing tier 3 minerals being produced at a more rapid rate. Okay, so again, we're waiting for the minerals to go up to tier to 200 so that we can build the other residential area. It'd be nice to sort of just build these all up to sort of tier 3s right away. We may not have the energy for that. But again, that's the reason why we're investing so heavily in our ability to produce minerals, because we want to be able to sort of build these buildings as quickly as possible, build fuel turbines to be able to service them, and if need be, build some defensive towers, right? There's absolutely no rule saying that I can't put a defensive tower down here, you know, one down here. Hopefully we have sort of some overlap so that we can build up some nice little kill zones. Lots of options available to us there. Now this kind of interests me. Okay. So power plant's on its way, which is good. We turn the shipyard on as soon as we can. I think the time has come for us to demolish the factory here. I'd love to put down a better energy plant right away, but I don't have the minerals for it yet. I do, however, have enough for the remaining residential area. I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure why they're dragging their feet on this, but I know I can move cleanup to a lower priority. Not that there isn't more cleanup to do. Nope. I just think processing's more important. The fact that this is moving the wrong way. No, this is almost always happens. Or was it this one's going the wrong way because this is the input and the output? It looks weird, but all that matters is sort of where you're plugging the Lego pieces in. It is a little strange though to see. So nobody's given it an input. Why is that? I have some feelings just based on the way that I play the game where I would like to see the, this is going to be sad when I want more workers. I definitely have some opinions in terms of where I would like to see the default behavior go, because I always tend to find that when I build this stuff, like the direction's always the wrong way. But it's like I'm not gonna send an all capital letters email to the art team telling them to fix that. I think no matter who you are, you're probably going to get on the wrong side of that at one point. Again, it feels a little weird to have so few artifacts. I can definitely dig them out of the ruins, but the aim here is to try and get the threat level down. Putting it into sort of an investment like a building probably isn't the best way to do it, but it does at some point need to serve a practical purpose too. Jesus, 55. So I guess the question comes down to, am I going to be able to build enough minerals to get a real actually, probably it's cash that's going to hold me back. That's the reason why we're building all of this stuff. I don't think we can upgrade it in time. Well, no, hang on. We're doing well for isotopes. So there's currently 7 unassigned people. We are at 22 for isotopes, so I'm going to try and let these guys finish their drilling. Where do I make money? Where do I make... Hello? I was not expecting to see that. Okay, you get an unexpected upgrade. Which tells me I can actually get rid of this pylon. Yeah, so now I don't have enough people running around, like, building stuff. It's probably because all my trucks are... Nope, all my trucks are parked, too. So why isn't anybody doing anything? Because we kind of need this stuff to get up and running so that we can, like, rake in the cash so that I can build the really scary ships. So let's just see where everybody's working. We've got 1 person on a construction. We've got 6 people on upgrades.
Hello, Founder. I'm pleased to see how the city is progressing. You are putting all those minerals to good use.
Okay.
As you may know, Titan is much richer in resources than most planets. Earth likes to brag, but water isn't everything. Even the atmosphere on Titan can be burned for fuel. Let's see Earth do better than that. My sister, she left Titan for Earth. Gave up the Council family for water. I mean, I respect her decision. She's an adult. But Titan is building the future. Many younger people in the Council family are starting to say, "Oh, Titan is gross. It's gross here." Of course, the wealthiest place in the system is a little gross. You don't make money by staying clean. To get rich, you have to be where things are changing the fastest. And that's definitely not Earth.
So again, we're in a bit of a race here, but I'm gonna shoot for the moon, cash-wise. Now this interests me that I can't dismantle this factory yet. Oh wow, we're really far behind. Okay, definitely need the energy plant upgraded. I'm assuming this is going to explode as soon as the connections and upgrades are done. I might want to cool it at some point, actually, because I also need the time to be able to bring people into these buildings. It doesn't matter if I've got these empty shells. He says as he continues to aggressively upgrade. We may not have enough in terms of isotopes for this final power plant, but we'll see. Should have enough fuel-wise for a tier 3. It's just a question as to whether or not I can build a tier 3. So as far as priorities are concerned, we're going to do... We need the money for better ships. Following that, we invest in the conversion centers so that we can have a stronger workforce to sort of make all this stuff happen. And then, presumably, once we're in a better shape for the Navy, we will try and turn that into some wins against the rebel camps. Okay, I'm just shy on the isotopes. I don't think I need to turn on a production line again. We will add someone to it, though. Well, it means I can't turn on the this residential, but that's life. Or I can't upgrade this residential right away. We're getting close to the start of the workday. No! Starting to run out of isotopes too, so I'm gonna have to turn this mine back on at some point. Hopefully after the patches have been worked, though. We're doing okay for waste. We've got space, 157 of it. Okay, that's not bad. I think actually what we'll do is... I'll hold off for a little bit longer. That is a lot of battery. Well, okay, that's because the energy plant's not done upgrading yet. We'll be fine. Or will we? We're actually just at the edge of 47, 48, so I need to... I actually need to build a fuel turbine sooner than I thought. And we're back to 70% rebel threat, so... I may actually have to build another little one, just to be able to... Okay, you know what? A little one's not gonna break the bank. So, as a precaution, let's get another Harpagus up. My other alternative is I try and put down a turret in these areas, but I am actually a bit worried about what the power situation is going to look like in the long term. So if we can get as many bodies as we can working, right now we're only seeing about 1,000 on the back end of this, but given our population numbers, we should actually be seeing a lot more. It's just I left it too late to actually bring the migrants in. What I may do is when I hit the 2,000, I'll maybe buy a tier 2 ship. I mean, at that point I would have to have the... I guess I would have to have the area clear. Oh, that's a real pain. Okay, yeah, we're gonna cancel that. I don't like it, but... based on where I'm at... So basically, if we take a look at where I'm at numbers-wise, cash-wise, I can spend 2,000 on a better ship. The Osprey is going to cost me 2,000, so at the very least I can get a tier 2 a tier 2 ship with the cash on hand. I think waiting another work day, though, is going to be a recipe for disaster. So we will sit till that number gets to 2K. Obviously, we'll add as many workers as we can over time, and if we get a chance to ask for money, we'll take it. Not going to get 1,000 from the council, though, that's for sure. And again, if we can gradually increase our numbers, great. It just means there's a little bit more cash for us to work with. But at this point, I need to get something that I can defend myself with. Beautiful. We're halfway through the workday, so I don't think that's going to mean much for what we can buy at the end of the day. In practical terms, unless I can get 5,000, it doesn't really count for anything. But yeah, I think we unlock the Hall here. That's got to be a priority. So we can at least have 3 weapons on it. This is going to be a pain to build the floor plan for, but I can at least start. And I think I'm going to have to live with the slow decrease in fuel. At some point I will get another fuel turbine up, but I think we need to be focused entirely on defense for the next little while. The good news is we're doing all right as far as the minerals are concerned. Isotopes could be better, but we're not going to do any big upgrades anytime soon. I guess the fuel turbine, but I think at this point we build the ship. We do our best to defend with it. If we get a chance to put down some turrets, that would be great too. We're at 139. Yeah, we've got 2. Is it 2 or 3? Yeah. But I mean, the thing is that the residential, like, we're at 56 of 122. So, like, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, Osprey's ready to go. It's not that big of a deal to get it done, like, right away. So I'm definitely going to need to plan this one, because this is essentially going to decide whether or not I survive. So I think it's pretty clear we want to do 3 large lasers. It's going to take a long time to make the boom happen, but it seems to me to be our best chance. So that's going to take 9 power. I'll do 2 life support, so that's going to be 11. We definitely want a medical pod, so that's going to take 12. So essentially we're looking for a large generator and a medium. Now we can tuck away a medium here. Maybe I think that's a good idea. Let's also think about where we put the... Something like that. Crew quarters. I just entombed this area inside here. That kind of works, but it feels super messy. So maybe we stick this one here. Okay, so that gives us lots of options as far as sort of battery packs and all of that go. Engines. That doesn't work for fuel though, does it? Maybe I just make it slower? Oh, hang on. Yeah, before I start getting too clever with that, we need to fuel all this stuff. Okay, it's a weird place to put the engines, but... I think we're gonna have to go for little fuel tanks on this one. We'll get them to start working on this stuff. God, this would have been so good for money if these people showed up like just a day earlier. Yeah, again, I don't want to go... I really don't want to go overboard on, like, bonus stuff. Damn. For this reason. This is going to keep ticking, and I do actually want this thing up and in the sky. Oh, I also forgot a medical pod. Damn, I'm really setting myself up for problems. I don't think I have an option now. Gotta use the tier 3s. Well, if I'm gonna do that, I might as well do that. So one of the big problems with this is going to kill my my workforce. So I think what we do here is we wait out on the... Okay, first of all, I got to turn the mine back on. Oh, you know what the really upsetting thing is? I would have had enough money for that tier 3 ship. Probably wouldn't have built it in time. What else can I buy with money? Well, we can do one of these, and then we can buy a fancy new conversion center. How you doing, Vanguard Master? So the catch to this is I'm not actually going to be able to convert employees until the next period. That's going to be a problem, but it's one that I just kind of need to eat. We're doing okay for tier 1 minerals. We can also get some from the minerals patches. Doing well enough on influence right now that I think what I'm going to do... Okay, there's actually two things. No, I can't turn off the... Well, I can turn off the office, actually. So that's generating 216, so I need to find another source of... I need to find something that I can turn off to keep the... Well, here we go. We can turn off the mine. So now we can turn off the energy plant. That'll give us a little bit of a boost to our fuel. Or at least let us refuel. Okay, you work the mineral patch. And I think probably... So I don't want to get too reckless with my influence, but it's clear that we don't really have that much to do right now, so I'm going to kind of go on a little bit of a claiming spree. Conveniently also picking some areas where I might feasibly be able to put down some defensive turrets. Now, I'm not expecting like a windfall of minerals out of this, but even if we get some, that'll put me in a good mood. Holy hell, this thing needs to get done faster. Wait, we don't have free workers? Gotta keep the smokestack working. Oh, because 6 of them went onto the ship. And I can't get replacements because oh man, we are screwed. Anyways, definitely prioritizing all of these. Like, this has got to be in the sky as soon as possible. I gotta think of some ways that I can kill my, Oh, we're on a leisure cycle, so this will hurt, Not quite what I intended to have happen, but you know what? I'm not gonna complain either. What else can we completely unnecessarily upgrade? Not the factories, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, we do have enough for at least one conversion center. I don't exactly need that. That should really be going wherever, like, pollution gets generated. Well, wherever pollution gets generated and it can get some power. It's like maybe here? I gotta request the credits because we're about to get in a fight. Okay. Extra power. Fire damage over time is kind of tempting. I think energy plant production probably will help me in the long run. This is gonna sting. Okay, I think energy plant production is kind of a no-brainer. Okay. Clearly I'm not gonna have a turret up in time. I am also gonna need to turn the turret on at some point. Okay, so I guess... Nah. I'll build the conversion center here. Oh, hang on. We should be able to get rid of this by this point. Still doesn't answer where the conversion center goes, though. I don't know, connected to the roadway doesn't... that's not the worst idea. So maybe I'll set it up here. But at this point, I'm essentially just hoping that the AI takes a long time to get to my city corp, because this is definitely taken a while. Once everything's built, I'm gonna crank up the number of people. I'm gonna crank up the number of people who are on the ship. You know what? It really pains me to do this, but I think I'm actually going to turn off one of the production lines on the... I'm also going to turn off the power because we're going to need to conserve. So it's not that I want to stop the production, it's just that I have too many people working production, and I don't have enough people moving resources right now. And I can't make new employees, so and same story with the isotopes. I would have liked to have done a little bit more, but we need the labor elsewhere. Okay, obviously I wasn't paying attention. We've already done that here. It's an interesting dilemma to run in for sure, but I'm really not confident in my ability to see this one through to a win. I've been playing catch-up for a few too many waves. Okay, so freed up a bunch of workers. We'll have some more energy to work with, although probably a moot point because we're gonna have to turn this on no matter what. I don't think I can bring myself to remove the dedicated workers from processing. I don't normally like half measures, but I figure half the crew at the start is a start. Actually, you know what? I'm curious if that's going to mess with the numbers and maybe it makes the threat level go down. I believe the smokestack should already be level 3. That was like one of the first things I upgraded all the way. I think we've had the mine range for a while. I've been meaning to blow that up, but we just like haven't had the time.
Surrender now, and you'll save us the trouble of my eliminating you.
Okay, call to arms. We don't need to turn the power plant back on, which is surprising but good. Okay, we still have 2 ships, but we're going to be able to scramble one. This is going to be a nail biter for sure. We have 4 more objects that need to get built. So it really depends what these things want to shoot. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we had a steady stream of council tickets coming in right now, because we're gonna have to wait a while on our cash. All right. We're not gonna mess with this stuff until it decides where it's going. Oh Jesus! There's two big ones. So again, every bit of HP is going to count on this ship. Okay, I don't think the road network can take much of this. Well, you know what?
Founder, how have you been? We're doing very well over here in power systems. We've been hiring a lot of engineers and employee pilots over here recently. I've been leading that initiative personally.
No way!
We're finally able to attract talent from
Unbelievable.
neighboring cities, Founder. We're getting a good reputation. I wanted to thank you personally for believing that I could become the kind of manager I am today. For now, I'm glad to keep learning here. But I do think that in a while, I could see myself going even higher up the chain. Not replacing you, Founder, no, but maybe running my own city. I've been watching the work you do closely. Give me a couple years, 3 at most, and I'll be ready.
Okay,
Here
there's
on
no
Titan,
way.
running a city is the dream. And I got a dream as big as I possibly can.
There's no way that the turret's going to be able to survive that onslaught, so fortunately, this is one of the easier patterns for us to take out. I gotta take a bit of a gamble here that this can't tickle the edge of the power plants. If it does, we're screwed. Actually, you know what? That's not as much of a chance. So this effectively there's no batteries. This effectively cuts the, this is like the easy mode large ship. They one-shot an activated, like it was a battery or something like that. So the good news on the, well, okay, there's good news and bad news. They're probably going to be able to get one shot off because for whatever reason we're charging the weapons. But, hang on. We should be able to completely cut off their power, which means that they're not gonna be able to do anything with this ship afterwards. I am a little worried that this ship might be moving outside of range. So this was activated radar. Pretty sure this had like some kind of clinch. Okay, one of the lasers is offline. That's a huge problem. It's number 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace these. Now this energy pylon can't really survive that much damage, which is a shame. We might have to sacrifice it for the greater good. Because I don't exactly want to take the yellow Aegon. If I was a better manager, I would be able to bury the city. Yeah, so the good news is we're not going to take any damage off of this. The bad news is the turret is apparently not doing enough to convince the Wisdom of Elpis that it needs to pay attention to it. So unless I can burrow the city, we're going to lose the pylon, which means that the command center, the storage facility, basically my isotope, my whole isotope line is basically out. But again, like this is the decision that we're making in terms of what we're willing to give up. So we'll rebuild that automatically. The big question now is where this thing decides to attack next. If it attacks critical infrastructure, then I am actually going to have to pull the defending ship. But it's actually looking pretty good for us right now. It's not a place I necessarily want to be, but it's one that I can work with. Okay, so they're going after the energy plant. We'll get that repaired right away. Now we're probably going to need to turn this thing on to get to make money. This is one of these examples of critical infrastructure getting hit that we can't necessarily afford to lose. But let's just see how long we can run this. The thing is, if this thing is tearing around, like, we don't get as long to fix some of this stuff. So it's why I'm trying to be very selective about what I defend. I do feel kind of bad that I don't have any factories to show off what it looks like inside. I had forgotten that they actually show the factory in flames. It's a really cool effect, and I really like how they did that. Okay, I'm weakly confident that we're going to be able to take out the Wisdom of Elpis before it takes out the energy plant. I would feel more comfortable if we had a, if we're doing a little bit more damage and if it was taking a little bit less damage. But I think we have the money to pull this through. Okay, now before I do anything else, I actually probably should get the next fuel turbine up. I know I said I was going to do a conversion center, but the conversion center doesn't do anything for me right now. Okay, we've definitely got this. At 8 o'clock, we're going to have to turn on the energy plant and kind of get hit by a few things. But again, we're in a good spot because we know as long as this ship's in the sky, we're going to be able to take out the solar clipper. Also, with our current population, oh right, we don't have the office. We should be doing pretty well cash flow wise, so we should be able to start building some beastly ships. Again, a lot of this depends in terms of when the next wave arrives, but we should feel okay. Okay.
I'm
There's
impressed,
repairs that'll
but not
have
enough
to be
to
handled.
stop me from destroying you next time, Founder.
So we're gonna have to repair the energy plant because it's on fire. We'll obviously do the other repairs later as well, but that worked out better than it should have for us. Just trying to think what should the next few moves be. Well, I'm going to invest the remaining influence in... actually, I'm going to hold off, because there's probably going to be some goodies I want to pick up. I guess I can get one worker chipping away at this. I don't exactly have a ton of spare bodies to work with. We've got 6 unassigned right now. But yeah, I think it's pretty clear the order in which things are going to happen. So first of all, let's get the energy plant on. So we should be expecting 11,000 at the end of the day. So that is definitely... Like, we're laughing as far as being able to build our big brutal ships. There is a bigger question in terms of whether or not I have the wherewithal to actually be able to get the materials I need to be able to build this stuff. This is why the conversion centers are such a big deal now. But we can work with that. That's weird that that says using only isotopes too. I wonder if that changes. Yeah. So that doesn't actually mean anything. Look at that money. All right, so first thing. Well, okay, we'll repair. We might as well get all the repairs done. It's going to tie up my workers for a bit, but it's probably the right thing to do. I do eventually need to get the mine back on, but obviously that's not happening till the command center's opened up. Isn't it already off? No, I guess not. Cancel. I mean, even with the turret, like, it's actually not that big of a deal. It only just gets me that one extra worker, and it's because I always have to have the energy plant on. There's no way that I can run this without... Well, I mean, I can mess around a little bit with some of the numbers, but... We're basically at the point where I need to have 2 plants running. Now, I don't think we can take this to the top tier, but at the very least... Well, actually, we're hanging on to the fuel as it is, so we probably don't need to rush the upgrade. I probably should. Again, I'm looking at this number and it's scaring the hell out of me. The real situation should be, we should be kind of up to our ears in employees. We should be able to get them to sort of run around and just generate ungodly amounts of tier 3 resources. And, you know, at that point, you know, sure, build multiple shipyards, build, you know, whatever. Yeah. For now, let's launch the ship. I could get away with augmenting the workforce by another 6 workers, but the worry always is, what if the rebels show up? So in this case, I think we're going to settle for the existing ship. So one of the good things now, I'm not going to have the wherewithal to buy it, but we can at least get the Cathartes. Oh, sorry, that's 7K. All right, that's fine. We can wait for it. Okay, we need to upgrade you. That might only need to be a level 2. Once I buy the Cathartes, then I'm going to upgrade spaceport storage and all of that. But I don't want to get too I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We still need to we still need to actually build everything. So yeah, cash goes into the shipyard first, conversion center second, because we're going to be able to pay for we're going to be able to get new employees by the end of the day. I should probably make sure I reserve the money for that, but so I guess the question is, do I consider these buildings the higher priority, or do I consider the... I guess in this case I would have to consider the storage upgrades the higher priority. So let's start with the spaceport storage. And I want to keep an eye on this. I've only got 4,000 more. So we can do one more spaceport storage and then probably one for the council. And the logic behind this is that the more spaceport storage I have, the more likely it is that I'm going to be able to... We need isotope 2. It's funny, I put so much effort into building that fuel turbine and it actually seems like we're doing okay Z-Thane-wise. Yeah, like we want to work towards supporting a larger workforce. That's actually also going to be why I pick up a lot of red artifacts in a little bit. But I'd rather not aggravate the rebels until it's necessary. Okay. I basically have 1K to play with in the... Well, I can actually still request points. We might be able to get away with another... I guess the bigger question is, am I going to have the conversion center ready to go on time? Okay, so it doesn't seem like any of this stuff really needs a larger range on the pylon. I think it's high time we took at least one artifact patch. Okay, we don't have that much more in the work shift. The temptation is to buy the council storage, but if I do that, then I don't pay the salary. Okay, cool. So we can basically start converting as soon as we got a conversion center up, and we can build that second one. That's going to affect our ability to make money, but in this case it's going to do so for the right reasons. I'm pretty much going to crank as many workers out of this as I can. which is why I started working on the artifact patch, and it's why I'm going to start claiming these ruins. Although, again, I'm going to do so at the last possible moment, because getting artifacts is going to turn into rebel threat. So, I'm going to adjust... Actually, you know what? We're going to turn this whole production line on. Okay. Short the isotopes a little bit. So I'm not completely cutting off the supply, but I want to roll back a little bit so that we can have those workers dedicated to other things. Not working the mine right now. We're not working either mine, actually, which is good. Need something for the fuel turbine. I technically don't need to upgrade this right now, so maybe we'll keep our powder dry on the conversion center. Actually, yeah, you know what? We're not even going to put an employee towards that until we need it. I should look at that more as just, you know, serendipitous that I don't need to worry about the fuel yet. Once we start getting low on our reserves, then we'll dedicate a worker. But for now, let's say the conversion center is a priority, as is the production of new minerals. But the conversion center is sort of something we're going to use to enable that. Looks like somebody finished the minerals patch, so I'm going to assign one more person to that. Again, we got to wait for the conversion centers before we go nuts with our the workforce. Also, it is worth saying that conversion centers don't generate like infinite amounts of employees, but we can definitely bank on a good sort of shot in the arm labor-wise. What I might do too is I might actually build up to our cap and then do the upgrade, build up, just kind of do it stepwise. Normally I try and upgrade all the way, but given that we're shorting our isotope production, it may not be a bad idea to just sort of do this in stages. The one thing, of course, that we always want is the ticking minerals, which is happening, but it is worth remembering to build the big guy. Ignoring the, the devices we'll need, it's 500 minerals for that thing to happen. So we're not out of the woods, is basically what I'm trying to say. Okay, this is a big milestone. 7 artifacts, we've got a conversion center. It is going to generate some waste, but... Okay, as you can already see, we need more artifacts. We are currently building 6, we've got 26 out of 43, so we've got plenty of room for extras. Let's pick what actually, this might be helpful for absorbing pollution because I am going to build more buildings over here. But they're all single artifacts. Okay, that does actually make my life a little bit easier. So it just means that once I do the two, once I have 2 slots available, I'll use the last 2, and every subsequent conversion is going to be capped by influence. It's a little weird to way to handle it, but okay. We definitely want to stop the waste. That's not going to hit us nearly soon enough. I probably should have anticipated that better, but I forgot. Is it 300? 500? 500. And I don't think I want to spend the influence yet. I may change my mind on that, but let's see where the turn takes us. Trying to think if there's any fat that I can cut. So right now these power plants are generating 228 each. So if I had 70 power I could get rid of. Well, I mean, there you go. Of course, the thing we really want to do is turn off the fuel turbine, but that, like, we wouldn't be able to run a single energy plant off of that, so. Although, if we've got a surplus of 49... Yeah, but what does it really generate? Also, I'm not hearing the delightful conversion complete sound. I don't think that, actually, you know, I'm dreaming if I think this is gonna cover the... So we didn't actually need to get any ruins off of that. In a pinch, you know, I just claim more stuff. In fact, maybe we claim another artifact patch, because that seems to be serving us reasonably well. And like I said, we keep converting until we don't have the resources to do the conversions. And that's going to mean either capacity under employee management, or that's going to mean at which point we upgrade. Or because we've run out of artifacts. And if we've run out of artifacts, then that's when we start ransacking the ruins. But the aim right now is to avoid any sudden movements, because again, we do not want the rebels paying attention to what we're up to. The one bit of good news is that we do seem to be, like, in terms of the pace of everything, we are definitely seeing an advance in terms of the minerals. The other thing that's nice is that we're probably going to be able to like either mine out these mineral patches, which would be my preference, or we can get the mines up and running again because we've got the extra workers. I don't want to do that as a default because obviously there's a lot of stuff on the ground that we can pick up and I'd prefer to focus on that first. So as soon as I hear conversion complete, if we don't have that... Actually, you know what? Let's start converting the ruins, because it's going to take a while for that to happen. Yeah, so like now we're waiting. We have some run... Like, we've got 13 more. So actually, if I did all of it... with 13 more, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Yeah, I think we can... This is probably one of those sudden movements I'm talking about, which is not such a smart idea. Especially because it's pulling workers away from mining. Let's see how we handle it. We can start working with the Cathartes, though. So I think what I'll do is I'll launch one of these Then we take this ship and sort of dismantle it once the Cathartes is in the air. That's probably not going to happen, incidentally. But if I'm lucky, you know, we can get a little extra. You seem to be doing okay waste-wise. I think the number's been ticking down. I wouldn't be surprised if our storage goes up after a little bit because of the conversions. I'm actually a bit surprised to see that we only have 6 free people right now. Guess this is a problem with me making my people walk so long to convert.
Conversion complete. Conversion complete. Extraction complete. Extraction complete.
Okay, always happy to see mineral patch depleted. I should probably assign someone to picking up minerals and isotopes. I'll start with minerals because those are necessary for our defense. Okay. I guess it doesn't let me review the blueprint, so we're gonna practice again. Like I usually do. Pair of these. Pair of these. So that's 12, 13. I think we just do 2 of these, so that's 15. So yeah, we just need a large generator and... Oh, yeah. I think I do something like this. And I guess something like that.
Founder, are you checking up on me after you heard about Gara Security trying to poach me? Well, never fear, I turned her down, after taking plenty of time to consider it, of course. I would so hate to leave you in the lurch. After all, Titan's regulations mean I can take all my research with me if I ever go, and you could do nothing about it. Oh, not that I would, of course. I'm not that kind of man, though there are many on Titan who would gladly slit your throat for a few credits. I'm not like that. As long as you keep me well stocked in artifacts and assistance, I will surely be loyal to your esteemed corporation. I would not be surprised if you decided to go after Gara Security more aggressively after this. I bet they have many resources we could use, if you were to destroy them. And of course, you must protect your reputation. You wouldn't want to appear weak, now would you?
This is an incredibly wasteful way of doing this, but...
Device complete. Device complete. Device complete.
Nope.
Device complete.
Yeah, so the overall, even though we're converting, the overall waste numbers are going down, which is good. We're also in a work cycle, so... Oh, crap, we're in a work cycle.
Device complete.
Yeah, only 7,000 now out of that, but fair enough. I mean, we don't need... the money needs are not quite what they used to be. Okay, so... Now this truly is overkill, but I'm taking it. Should get the medical. I guess I could put the medical pod down here now that I've added the extra space. I need a fuel fabricator. I'll put a bit of storage down. Again, I don't want to coat it in batteries like I normally do just because it's a complete waste. Lies. Yeah, this will sort itself out. And we're out of artifacts. So, we go claiming the last couple of ruins. And then I think we need to reinvest in... What have I got here? Oops. So we got 10 free bodies. Let's put one to artifact collection. That's obviously going to speed up the rate at which we convert. Okay, so there are... Sorry, my bad. I believe every time I... Oh god, that was one... That was for 3 too. I should have taken that one first. Okay. So we're starting to lose the low-hanging fruit. At least artifacts-wise. That'll be recovered though as we start mining the patches. Okay, looking good here. Let's get the last few steps in. So again, the important thing to remember here is that this is going to be what saves us from another rebel attack. So I think I'm going to put down 2 large fuel tanks, preferably away from things that blow up. And then let's put down... God, there is a question in terms of how many of these batteries I want to put down. Let's maybe do something like this. So this isn't blocking anybody's path from anything. Maybe another one down here like this. That works for me. It's probably going to be a little bit of a pain to recreate, but I'll worry about that in the future. Now, it may be wise for me to consider building a second shipyard, because it might be helpful to have... Like, so the difficulty that I have here now, right, is we're at 73% on the rebel threat. We've got 2 ships that we can, well, not even really scramble. They're just going to be hovering in the middle of the air. So we've got 2 ships to be able to handle a wave 7. And we've got a turret to sort of help direct people. Now, we shouldn't expect the ships to be a pushover like last time. They are going to be more vicious. But... 355 is fine. It's cutting it a little close, but we can handle it. Yeah, so I shouldn't be banking on the enemy ships being a pushover like last time. I'm gonna grab the minerals first. So as we get the minerals, I'm gonna start putting those people towards collecting minerals off the ground. But yeah, so the dilemma is basically going to be, when do I say, okay, we're in a good... Oh, we're apparently at our limit. Okay, so we should probably let them finish their existing conversions, then we upgrade. Maybe I do the upgrade now. Clearly I can't. Okay, so best bet to me seems to be we launch. Kind of happy to see there's no more upgrades we can do to the spaceport. I am surprised about the city livability. Actually, no, I shouldn't be surprised by that because I haven't built any amenities and people are living next to an energy plant. So yeah, I mean, my wish would be to demolish this thing. Although we're getting darn close. I'm probably going to regret this. But if I can get 2 Cathartes running before the rebels show up, that is a good day. We're obviously killing it on minerals. So much so, in fact, that we need more dedicated workers on mineral collection. So the good news is when I dismantle this ship, it's the resources automatically go into my my storage. So I'll be able to build the Cathartes right away. The question is whether or not I'm going to be able to build the modules for it right away. So take everyone out. One nice thing is that I did use a bunch of tier 3 resources to be able to build these items, so that will also be something that speeds up the production. I guess we've got 6 more bodies, so let's get them... So let's, again, start by clearing out the minerals patches. Okay, how many free bodies do I have? I think, I'm kind of married to the number 10 apparently. I think there may be problems with that, but I need to feed the beast as far as the minerals are concerned, so I don't actually mind throwing more bodies at the move minerals problem. It does mean that we only have 3 people working on dismantling the device, which is not so good, but I will watch that with interest. I think what I'm also going to do is I'm going to cool it on the artifact patch for a bit. And the logic behind that is to stop the rebel threat level from ticking up. I think we can do that for both, actually. 9 is a pretty large number. If I've got a second Cathartes in the air, sure, you know, I'll reconsider. But for now, we want to repurpose the yellow. Is it Aegean? Aegeon? We want to repurpose this ship for bigger and better things. Yeah, 85 is making me feel real nervous. Mind you, 900's a good number. So I think it's going to be a question of workers. Like, it's just going to be a question in terms of how quickly we clear this out. I know if I prioritize waste cleanup, the conversions are going to happen faster. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the natural completion of mineral extraction, I'm going to let that take care of... That's going to get me extra workers. I think if you see that big of a jump, that means... Yep. So again, the more we see mineral patch depleted, that's nice. because that means I can assign them to picking up minerals, which is not the only thing for me to do, but essentially the closer I see tier 1 go to 0, the more scared I get. Oh, sorry, Vanguard Master. I am very fond of Hooded Horse. I'm sorry, I totally missed your message about how familiar am I with Hooded Horse. If you're still here, quite familiar. I think they're a really impressive publisher. Why do you ask? I think the guy who founded it is actually a former consultant for McKinsey. But yeah, so in terms of the stuff that... So I first found out about Hooded Horse because they announced themselves as the publisher for Terra Invicta. And then they sort of went to an even new height and wound up... they wound up publishing Old World on Steam. Now, I'm not 100% sure what the story is behind that, but I know Old World was originally going to be published by Starbreeze, and I'm sure you know that they wound up in some financial trouble. And so effectively, and again, like a lot of people got upset about the Epic Store, but the Epic Store is the reason why Old World was able to continue. Effectively, I'm pretty sure, I don't know exactly how I'm not exactly sure what the terms were, but my understanding is that basically the money from the exclusivity was what bought that game when it was called 10 Crowns from Starbreeze. But my guess is that probably one of the conditions was that it was an Epic exclusive, and so I suspect that there was probably some sort of an arrangement that needed to be made, because I suspect Epic is not really in the business of publishing on Steam, right? Not like they're not exclusively avoiding Steam. I know like Rocket League was available for a while, and I know if you had it on Steam, you can continue to play it on Steam. But I believe if you want to, make a new account now, you're doing that through Epic. I don't know what the fate of Fall Guys is, but yeah. In any case, I'm sure it's complicated, and I think there's probably a reason we've not heard exactly what the terms of the agreement were. But obviously, I'm a tremendous fan of both Old World and Terra Invicta, and so certainly that's what put them on my radar. But if you look at their pipeline, there's just so many great looking games. I'm particularly interested in Espiocracy. I really want to see how that one turns out. I think there's a lot of excitement for Manor Lords. It's not actually one I personally, I wasn't sort of bending over backwards to check out that one, but I'm not opposed to it. I can't remember how I did that on the other ship. Oh, I did tuck that in on the... Fair enough. But yeah, even like the smaller stuff, so I'm not a huge RimWorld guy. And it's not even that I dislike RimWorld, it's just I still have some stuff to learn about it. But Clanfolk is sort of a... I appreciate... you probably can appreciate this, Vanguard Master, because I'm sure you've run into this from some people. Hey, Packy! But, you have an idea for something, you're really excited about it, you want to share it with someone, and then you hear, oh, so it's, and then they say some game, and it's like, I know for some people what they're trying to do is show that they're engaged, but what it kind of comes off as is, oh yeah, I've seen it all before, you're not doing anything new. And it's like, okay, well, I just won't share this nice thing that I'm doing next time, because I think you're kind of a jerk. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. But yeah, I totally hate those reactions. So with that in mind, right? Like I don't want to fall into that trap and say that Clanfolk is, you know, the RimWorld also ran. I think they have a reason why they made that game, and I think they, you know, they have something, you know, they have something that they would like to distinguish themselves with. Now the thing is that is some, like, it is also fair to say that the first game I think of when I see that is RimWorld, and I don't think it's unfair to, like, you know, say this kind of seems to be the sort of experience that they're working on. Why on earth do I have more than one? Huh. But yeah, like, you know, I feel like they've put in the effort to make something, you know, something for me to experience. I should put in the effort to make sure that I'm, you know, I'm engaging with it. Now it does still feel like a very new game. I will confess I'm sort of trying to get a bit of a read on. I have not been charging these batteries at all, and I feel like it's dope. Yeah, I'm kind of getting a read on exactly what's going on with that game, and like I said, I'm, you know, whether it's RimWorld, whether it's Dwarf Fortress, whether it's you know, pretty much any. I mean, Industries of Titan is kind of one of my favorites in this genre, and I realize that this probably is not, you know, like Dwarf Fortress, it's in the ballpark. Surviving Mars, it's in the ballpark. Off-World Trading Company, it's in the ballpark. You know, this is in the ballpark of a lot of things, but very much its own game. And I, you know, I'm trying to put my finger on exactly what my elevator pitch for someone would be on Clanfolk to say, like, you gotta see this thing, right? But that caveat aside, like, you know, even then, right? Like, Clanfolk really does seem to be the sort of thing that that people can sink their teeth into, and I do like the approach to kind of Scottish history that it takes, because I have a feeling that probably, like, I don't know, but I have a guess that if I dig a little bit deeper on that, I'll probably learn something. But I also don't want to pretend that I know. I don't want to pretend that I know more about their lineup than I do. But yeah, I mean, both in terms of what they've released, but I know they're also doing Xenonauts 2, actually. So that was another one I forgot to mention. Like I said, really, it feels like a really deep pipeline. You know, my hope is that they're meeting with success. I don't know if they've published any numbers in terms of how it's turning out, but I think they're doing interesting stuff. And, you know, the same reason I like playing... I mean, there's a reason why the Hooded Horse games are on Mondays now, right? They've replaced Paradox for me. And I think much for the same reason why I like playing Brace Yourself games on Wednesdays. I think developers that are doing interesting things and, you know, treating... Like, there is the streamer element. I don't like the idea that sometimes asking for a key might mean that I don't wind up streaming a given game. But for the most part, I sort of think if I can... you know, like, I'm not exactly happy with the way that Paradox treated the relationship. But for the most part, what I've found is that for individual developer, like working individually with developers, they can be very encouraging and they can be really open-minded. So this is like why I've wound up on certain Steam pages, right? And I like to think that, you know, they've gotten the, you know, they've gotten as good as I've given. I do find that the services claiming to get you in touch with streamers really are not doing anything more than just ranking people by their concurrent viewers and giving out keys that way. I won't say who the developer is, but there was actually somebody who I consistently did the games for, and as soon as they switched to one of those services, the keys dried up. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm not covering their stuff anymore, which is a shame because I actually really like their stuff. But the tricky part is that I do feel that I am providing something of value, right? And if I've put in the request and then the signal is, oh, okay, I was just testing the waters, I forgot to turn my office on again. I was just testing the waters, haha, I was going to do this thing anyway. Effectively, I'm undermining sort of my value proposition. So it's one of the reasons I'm a little more selective in terms of the stuff that I request keys for. But it's... Okay, we're going to wrap up.
Hey there, Founder. I just got back from a planning meeting, and boy, I got some stories to tell you. Apparently, in other cities, kids are daring each other to eat things out of the waste receptacles. I think 3 kids have died so far. All the waste on this moon is basically poison. Here on Titan, we don't have to store poisonous waste in secure facilities. If kids want to eat it, well, nobody's stopping them. This isn't even the worst teen thing I've heard about. You know, a few years back, kids were trying to climb up on landing pads during spacecraft landings. Well, and then there's that classic ruin spelunking thing they do. That's very often fatal. The worst part is, most of these kids don't even have hospital rights here on Titan. So if they get sick, boom, they're done for. I'm glad my grandkids are back on Earth. The worst trouble you can get up to on Earth is, wow, probably cybercrime. Cybercrime or graffiti, probably, or maybe identity theft. I don't know what kids do these days.
Okay, just in time for the rebel threat to come up. Yeah. I mean, again, like, I don't want to sound like an entitled, jackass. Like, it's, a developer needs to decide whether or not they think giving the key is worthwhile. And I need to decide whether or not a game is worth playing. And not every game that I've streamed is a game that I have been given a key for. But I'm obviously going to give priority to the people who are, again, doing things... Number one, I got to enjoy the game. I really do not like the style of stream where you play a game just so you can crap on it. I get that that's a thing that some people want to see, and, I don't... like most things, right? I'm not going to sort of sit down and wag my finger and say that, these are bad people for doing this thing. But I feel like... I think there's a perception that a lot of stuff is made without effort. When it's a question of, the realities of the product. I mean, actually, it's kind of, they get dance chips installed into their brains. It's a little bit, so like, obviously I didn't want to push back too hard in the chat, but like, some of the criticism of Industries of Titan that was going on in here, I didn't actually necessarily feel was all that fair to the game. And I think there is a question of discussing the game you get, not the game you wanted it to be. There's stuff that got removed from the roadmap that personally I actually would like to have seen in the game. But I don't feel like that's the deal breaker for Industries of Titan for me. I sort of feel like there's a little bit more for me to kind of take in and think about before I sort of say, what were they thinking? They should have done X, Y, and Z. And I'm not entirely sure they're getting credit for the... I'm not really sure that they're quite getting the credit that they deserve for, making the game that they did on the schedule that they had. I suspect, especially you, Vanguard Master, as somebody who's making a game, I think it's fair to say you're always going to have more ideas than you have time to implement them. Now, again, do I think Industries of Titan's a perfect game? No, I mean, there's some things that I'd probably, change personally. But I genuinely like this game, and I like it for a number of different reasons. Hopefully it's come across that I like this game so much. So yeah, I'm not the type. So if, again, whatever disappointments people may feel about Industries of Titan, I definitely don't feel like this was for lack of trying. Whatever. I don't know if people are saying that, but, and likewise, if there's a game that, the sort of stuff that, you and I probably see every day on Steam, right? In particular, if you're somebody who's making games, there's something you learn every time you look at a thing that Steam is recommending to you and you click away. Because in the end, Steam wants you to basically buy everything they show you. Every time they show you something that you don't buy, it kind of represents a room for improvement. Because in the end, right, they get a percentage. They want to see as much money as they can from each customer, within reason. Like, I don't think they want to turn everybody into like buying zombies, right? I'm pretty sure nobody wants to like reduce someone down to just a pure consumption machine. But obviously, when you look at something and you're like, or like that really actually, here's a good example, like that really depressing thread that we read in terms of like the game not doing as well as they thought, and them saying, well, look, it's got so many positive reviews that it must mean the game is good, right? That isn't what that data says, by the way. But that's a conversation for another time. I don't think it would be fair to say that dev didn't put in the effort, because you got to hear about how many years that they put towards it. There may, however, be a claim that the effort was put toward low productivity activity. So, and I learned this because, I'm sorry, I'm going to monologue for a little bit, and then I'll get back to the topic that you were actually bringing up. There's a developer who I played his first game. Actually, this is one I feel kind of bad about, because they had a reasonable success with their first game. Like, not overwhelming, but it was, they did all right. And that was partly because of a pretty big developer sort of giving them a boost. And unfortunately, they very publicly sort of turned away from that developer. So, it's kind of clear to see for the follow-up game, they quit their day job, did a bigger project, but the bigger project didn't have the same sort of boost. And I suspect probably what may have happened was they were anticipating a certain marketing, like they kind of probably expected a certain amount of marketing happened automatically because of the endorsement that they got from this large developer. And obviously that didn't necessarily happen. But again, I'm not in a position to diagnose it. But what I did notice was they were talking on their Twitter. Like I follow them on Twitter, and they said something to the effect that, they just discovered in Unity, I can't even remember specifically what it was, but effectively it was it's one of the tools used to sort of like automate things. Like, apparently they were doing something that is a built-in feature of Unity by hand. And again, no game is going to have 100% time dedicated towards, the most productive activity. There are going to be things that people are good at. There are going to be things that people are less good at. There are going to be blind alleys that you go down. That's, it's just like writing, right? You do the best you can with the resources that you have. But the tricky part is when you hear the story about this, that thread that we were reading, and this person says it took me X years to do this thing. Well, the problem is when you spend X years to do it and you've quit your day job, the expectation of return for that game is so much higher than if you got something done in 6 months. And the drawback is that if you're spending all the time doing things by hand, that's low productivity work. And the problem is that when you're doing everything by hand and everybody else is taking advantage of the technology that they have around them, this is creating a level of expectation of what, a $12, a $20, a $30 game is. And so one of the drawbacks is that if someone is not doing something like if they're not taking advantage of sort of the productivity enhancing tools they have available to them, it does mean potentially they're falling behind on a certain quality vector. Now, that's not the end of the world, because there's a lot of games that we played on this channel that are probably some of the best streams that I've done and some of the most like popular games that I've done, which absolutely embrace their uniqueness. But if you think about it, right, that is still a shift into high productivity activity, right? So if you just can turn a phrase, better than Jonathan Swift, of course you're going to be doing like dialogue heavy or narrative games or things like that. Like, why wouldn't you want to be putting as much text and presenting it in an interesting way for people to play and enjoy? If you have got a tremendous gift for, a very compelling visual art style, right? Why would you, I suspect there is a reason why Industries of Titan spends a lot of time letting me look at these beautiful landscapes and just, interact and build inside of it. There's something, I think there's something to be said for, the specific choices they made in terms of how you spend your time, how you build things. I don't think a lot of this is by accident. Not that this game is only its visual style. The systems are interesting too, and there were, again, lots of plans, and not necessarily all of the plans turned out, but I think a good many of them did, and it's an interesting game for it. But again, like the problem is here that if you're doing everything by hand and you have a 5-year development cycle on this thing, the price at which you can charge is potentially not high enough relative to the number of people who are going to be buying the game to make the project viable. And it's tough to talk about productivity, right? Because it's very difficult to measure. But anyways, I think that was what was going on with those. What the hell was I talking about? You're looking around, get an idea of what a standard publisher contract looks like. You found one article that seemed really... Oh, did you get to see the publisher contract for Hooded Horse? Was that why you were asking? Sorry, I do need to wrap it up here, so we'll do Twitch. January, it's the 4th, well, technically the 5th now, but I still have my job application to do. But yeah, anyways, the Paradox thing. Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I'm not entitled to anybody's keys. The problem was that I streamed those games, with an unbroken streak, especially like even the ones that were not popular, like Imperator Rome. I did that a really, really long time. And I could understand saying we're going in a different direction. We've imposed a cutoff for a number of concurrent views. I'm not going to be happy about that, but at least I have an explanation. To be told one thing and then after multiple emails just be ghosted is, in my opinion, not the way you treat sort of a multi-year relationship. And, I know they don't really feel like it's a big loss. This is one of the drawbacks about being a small guy, right? If you feel there's some kind of injustice that's been done, you're just going to shake your fist to the heavens. But it's one reason why I like to support the stuff that I'm interested in, but I also feel supports me. I mean, again, I could spend more time not talking about this sort of stuff, but it's a reason, like, that's basically the reason why those games aren't on the channel anymore. It's not that I necessarily like them, but that I don't like them anymore, but it's it's definitely a big reason why I don't feel compelled to do Stellaris. Because, like, in the end, there's a lot of 4X games that I really like, and they don't have to be Stellaris. So, but in any case, we will be back to Industries of Titan next week. I'm going to be back on Friday. I have no idea what I'm doing. I guess I was originally doing... Against the Storm. I actually really liked playing Chaos Reborn on Friday, though, so I'll figure it out. But I hope you all have a good evening, and I will, as soon as I know what I'm going to play, you will know. But I do need to find someone to host, and I can't find my I can't find my browser anymore. Where are you? I'm really sorry to end that on a somewhat negative note, though. I didn't want to be complaining about Paradox. See that more as a boost to brace yourself, not the other way around, and Hooded Horse for that matter. Anyways, I'm gonna raid Brian on the Rocks because he's just chatting. Brian on the Rocks has got a big milestone coming out. He's working for a little formerly independent company. They've recently been acquired by the name of Respawn. And he's working on this, like, it's kind of weird. Like, there's these space samurai, and they have sword fights, but they're not like real swords. They're like laser swords. And like the game's obviously in development because you see them like make gestures. They'll like sort of like not exactly punch. They'll sort of do like an open-handed attack. And like you'll see a guy like fly all the way back, but like obviously they're nowhere near each other. But I mean, you know, they're still figuring all that out. But I hope they figure it out soon because that thing's coming out in March. Anyways, that's what he's working on right now. But he's doing just chatting, and I figure, particularly you, Vanguard Master, because you're a developer, he is somebody who does like talking about game development, and I'm sure can teach you a lot of cool stuff. That's also the one that's got like Scotty in it, right? Use the Force, Kirk. All right, have a good one.